Really?
Good morning, Dewey. It's so nice to see you.
I know it. How's it in Southern California at this point in time?
Uh, no complaints. It is a gorgeous day. The birds are singing and flowers are blooming and the sky's blue today. So I am looking out my window. It looks great and things are good. I mean, I'm still sheltering at home. I have not ventured out, but
Good. Did
others
you have a
are,
good Mother's
just
Did
not
you have a
me.
good Mother's Day?
I had a great Mother's Day. My
Good.
kids decided to come down. That was kind of a big step for us, just to be together as a family, the five of us, and it was really nice to see my kids. And we decided among us that we felt okay being together and not wearing masks and giving each other hugs because everybody had been social distancing this whole time. And knock on wood, so far we're all good, and hopefully we'll stay that way. But if that's how I catch coronavirus, COVID-19, I couldn't think of a better way to catch it than from hugging my children.
You're right. There would be no better way. Um, Good. I'm glad that it was a great holiday and that you get to spend time with your kids because that's probably one of the things which is hardest for people during this time is not being able
Yeah.
and even if you don't see those people on a regular basis, not being able to see them or knowing you can't, be physically present is probably hard. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I think you and I talked about this at the beginning of, when it first started, I was like, oh, those poor people with young children at home and they're stuck at home with their young kids and that must be so stressful. And then as time went on, it was like, oh, they're so lucky they get to have their kids in their house. I wish I could have my kids in my house. So, yeah,
I hear
the
you.
times they are a changing.
They are. We started this thing, I think this is the 15th episode. So we've been doing this
Yeah,
for 4 months now, essentially. And we started this to take our experience as coach, parent, to help other people on their journey through. And I know there are a lot of people trying to figure out what it's going to look like as they start competing again because tennis has opened back
right.
up. And while none of us have specific knowledge because none of us have been through this before, I think we can probably use our collective wisdom brain to put together some common sense solutions for people. What you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was surprised to see even New York is opening tennis back up. So the courts are open, available. There are different guidelines in different parts of the country. I know, some clubs are open for singles only or for private lessons only or for coached singles play, where there are no more than three people on the court. But others are open for doubles too and group lessons and drills and there are precautions in place. And I've talked pretty extensively about what my club here in SoCal is doing. Um, and one thing I will say that I think is really important as we do start to open back up, and especially bringing the kids back out, is making sure that there is clear and regular communication between tennis directors, coaches, and the member families, right? So for my club here, I'm getting emails probably 2 to 3 times a week, adjusting what the precautions are, adjusting what the guidelines are as they start to see more people come out and play. And for example, one of the rules that they put in place was the building itself is open because you have to walk through the building to get to the tennis courts, but the grill is closed and the locker room is closed, et cetera, et cetera. You have to bring your own towel. The pro shop was closed. But what they asked is if you are coming to play, that you wear a mask as you pass through the building or, coming and going. So you have to have a mask on as you walk through. And then once you get on the tennis court, you can take the mask off and play your match. And there are all sorts of social distancing guidelines once you're on the court.
Mm-hmm.
But what was happening were the adults were following the rules just fine, wearing their masks as they came through the building. but the kids were not doing such a good job following that rule. And so the club then adjusted and said, okay, here's the deal. If you show up without a mask the first time, we will give you a mask. They had some on hand. If you show up the second time without a mask, it's going to be $25 for you to get a mask to come in. And every subsequent time, it's going to be $25. So don't forget your damn mask. Put the mask on and follow the rules. And so I thought that was, that was a great way to adjust and hold people accountable for following the rules. And I know doubles is in full swing at my club. I'm still not out there. For those wondering, I still have not played. And as you and I were talking about, Dewey, I'm going to be hard pressed to find somebody willing to go out and hit with me if they've all been hitting for the past few weeks. And I'm still sitting here, twiddling my thumbs, and I'm going to be rusty. But we are starting to see some competitive opportunities showing up, some coached match play, some UTR events. And yeah, let's hear what you guys are up to in Austin.
We're constantly adjusting. It's a constant ebb and flow. So we started with private lessons, so a coach and a player, or semi-private lessons. We then went to small groups, so looking to have maximum of 2 players on a court, a coach for every 2 courts, and everybody having their own place to put down their water bottles and those types of things. We been very creative, and we're looking at summer now, but to get back to where we are right at the moment, for the last 2 weeks of school year programming, we created shorter time frames, so the groups are smaller, so there's more groups. Time frames that they're out there are shorter. They're staggered to a degree, so it's an hour and 15-minute group. There's then a 15-minute lag time between when one group ends and the next group comes in, which provides an opportunity for the players who are finishing to get in their cars and leave and not be passing those players who are coming in, so leaving that gap in there. We're still doing virtual fitness, which was one of the things which we did extremely well during that time when nobody could be out. Was we created a virtual fitness, which we believe was better than what real fitness was. So that's continuing. We're continuing some of the mental strength and conditioning coursework that we were doing. So each group has 2 segments a week where they're doing a virtual mental training academy. And we're looking at what's going to happen come summer, because the real question is what happens when the competition structure opens back up. And I had a chance to watch a little bit of what happened both in Germany and in Florida, and to look at it, and it gave a clue as to what it might look like with players who are at a lower level also. And I don't know how much you're aware of what that has been, or what it has looked like. It looked like pretty much rubbish tennis, to be honest with you. There are
Well, I had Ruben Herrera on my Facebook Live, and he's my podcast for this week, and he's the guy who organized the pro event in Germany. And it was interesting to talk to him about what's gone into it. Basically, it's all local players, though, right? Because nobody's flying, and they did a short format, no ad scoring, 4-game sets. The matches went very quickly. There was one official on the court, and no fans, nobody in the stands watching. So, it looks very different. I watched some of those matches online, and I mean, I'm happy the players get back out there, but as a fan of the sport, it was a little boring, I have to say. I hate to say that.
I wonder how much of that is just the name recognition of the players wasn't there. But
Sorry
even
about
the
the
players
phone, guys.
who, we all working from strange places at strange times.
Yeah.
I've not ever seen in a pro match so many balls shanked into what would have been the stands. In this case, it was over the fence. There was
Yeah.
probably a handful in one match of balls which were mishit off the frame and just went flying away. Not the kind of misses you think of a pro doing, but the kind of misses you think of a junior doing. And that just really
Right.
speaks to how not turn, so I'm talking about like Riley Opelka, who we is a name that we know we're used to seeing on television at this point in time. And, struggling in certain situations to attain form. They haven't not back into form while
Mhm.
they've been undoubtedly hitting. There's a different intensity when you know that there's a competition which is coming up. And I think there's still
Sure.
some uncertainty for those players as to what the competition structure will look like. So, yes, they're trying to get back into the arena as gladiators and, really put it on, but they don't really know. They're still fighting these gladiator battles with wooden swords and things. The real heavy
Right.
metal hasn't come out yet, right? So,
Right.
how real
Yeah, and
how
their
real is it?
bodies aren't ready. Yeah, their bodies aren't ready. Their minds aren't as ready as I'm sure they need them to be for high level competition. And that kind of brings us to, how do we get our junior players ready to go back out there and compete? And as these events start to open and there are facilities around the country doing and around the world doing UTR events with small draws, with again the short format, 4 game sets, no ad scoring, just to, I think, really give these kids a taste of competition so they can kind of ease back into things. But what do we need to be looking for our children to make sure that they're physically and mentally able to get back out there and compete on some level? Obviously, we can't expect the level that they were playing at prior to March, whatever, when you started sheltering at home, wherever you are. But I think there's going to have to be, some real adjustment and understanding and patience as we move back into junior competition.
I think one of the benefits possibly of this format that we've gone back into anyways with having 2 kids on a court, because most of the time you have to have 4 kids on a court if you have a big academy in order for it to financially make sense. That's the reality
Mm-hmm.
of it. um, but since we've gone to this format where there are less kids on a court, the majority of kids have actually liked it better. So their intensity has actually been a little bit greater in this format. They're liking the fact that they're able to move, that they're able to challenge each other, that it is a little bit more like real play rather than, okay, hit 100 cross courts in a row or, 100 down the
Right.
lines or that type of thing. It's going to be a while before I think we're able to fully assess whether they're ready for competition. I think we're seeing some injuries start to pop up. The event in Florida.
Really?
So yeah, if you think the
Well, I mean,
event
we
in
saw
Florida
some
had
prior to,
two
yeah,
of the people pull out.
pull
So
out.
Tennis
Right. But that
Sangren,
was
and I don't remember who
prior.
the other one was. Well, yeah, just before it, but it was an injury
Berrettini,
which,
right?
um, yeah, I believe it was, yes. So
Yeah.
just before it, but that was undoubtedly I've been working out, but now it's getting ready for competition, and so I'm trying to turn it
Yeah.
up a little bit, and body might not have responded optimally, and you get the little tweaks and the little niggles here and there, and I think we're gonna see a lot of that, and I would almost expect it. Um,
Well, with the kids though, what kind of jumped out at me as you were just talking, Dewey, is providing these competitive opportunities for them in practice now that you do have to have fewer kids on the court at a time, and easing them back in, to a competitive situation through lessons and drills. So it's funny. I I've been pretty open about the fact that I've never paid any attention to any sport other than tennis. I don't care about other sports other than during the Olympics, and I watch everything then. But lately, I've been reading all sorts of stuff about college football because of the implications for tennis. And lately I've been watching the ESPN docuseries on Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, which is basketball, obviously, well, with a little baseball thrown in. Um, and listening to Michael Jordan talk about his competitive nature and how everything was a competition for him, always, and still is. And how when he would step foot on the basketball court in practice, he would really get mad at his teammates if they didn't bring the level of intensity that he was bringing. And, then his teammates get interviewed and they talk about how having somebody like him on the team helped them be better versions of themselves, right? Because he pushed them, even though in the moment they thought he was a jerk. Being able to reflect and understand what was actually going on made them better. And so I think about that in terms of our juniors getting back out there and really having to, for those who didn't do this before, develop that mindset that every single time you step foot on the court, you are there to give your best effort, whatever that is on the day, but you better bring it. And if you want to be ready to play tournaments that count for rankings, ratings, whatever, you better start working on that competitive mindset right now on the practice court, even in these weird times where the practice court looks very different from what you're used to. So I thought that was, it was
And
interesting
maybe
to hear
there's the
Michael Jordan talk about that.
Yeah, maybe there's the great opportunity. One of the things you alluded to in the opening segment was that the adults kind of followed rules going into your club, but the kids not so much so.
Yeah.
And I suspect it's one of the reasons that we're going to need the kids to be in more structured environments, at least in the beginning, until we're sure how much social distancing is necessary, because left to their own devices, they're going to sit on the same bench and chit chat during changeovers and things like that. But with
Right.
the necessity to do things like change ends at opposite net posts, sit at different benches, um, really getting the young players to focus on what those changeover rituals should be. That you're not out there to put out the wicker basket and the checkered blanket and have a tea party with your girlfriend during those times, but it is a time to think about the things that were in your plan, which are going well, have gone well, and those that haven't, and that you might want to change for that next time that you step out, and really focus on the entire match structure and managing the match court, more so than we think of it in a general practice situation. So there might be a great opportunity
Yeah.
present at the moment. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think, there are a lot of opportunities available to us right now as we start to reopen and push the reset button really on youth sports in general. And there's a lot of conversation happening around that. Like, how can we go back to a place where youth sports that we focus on the youth part and not on the business of the sport, and what is that going to look like moving forward? How do we get kids out playing more matches? And Ruben Herrera talks about that in my podcast this week, the importance of match play and just having kids take the responsibility for arranging a match to go out and play together. But because of COVID-19, can we allow two 12-year-olds on the court without some sort of adult supervision to make sure that they're practicing social distancing and doing the things that we feel are going to keep them healthy? But I think there's a
yeah,
real opportunity here.
it's going to be hard because I don't know a coach at a reasonable level who hasn't bemoaned the fact that kids don't just call each other up and go play matches anymore. Those days
Yeah.
of that's what we do on weekends, and we start out, we're going to play 2 out of 3 sets, and if you win the first two, I'm saying now it's 3 out of 5, and then 4 out of 7,
Right.
and then oh, I want a rematch tomorrow. Right? Those
Yeah.
days don't happen very often anymore. Um,
Can you all hear the crazy dogs? Sorry about
yeah,
that.
yeah, you know.
It's my dog, my son's dog, and the next door neighbor's dog. They have a party at the fence, so sorry
Wow.
about that.
Um,
Yeah.
so while we all want kids to play more matches, structure almost has to be a little bit greater, tighter
Yeah.
than what it has been in the past. But I think there's a huge opportunity. I think UTR, you've mentioned that there are some tournaments which are going on. UTR has its whole premise has been you don't need to go travel across the country to find
Right.
matches at your level, right? We can find ways to bring your level of competition very locally. That's going to happen a lot more. There's going to be innovation in terms of the technology necessary. I've heard discussions of ways to have virtual check-ins where there essentially will be no tournament desk. Players will be able to use and report their score, use devices and report their scores, and have the balls essentially delivered to the court. They'll just go out and they will play their match. There's going to be a lot of innovation happening. Just as there always has been. I remember the
Yeah.
days when you had to show up on Friday night and register for the tournament and get your T-shirt, and everybody had to go to the main match site. I don't know the last time everybody had to go to a main site to check in to make sure everybody was here before they let in the alternates. That's not a thing anymore. Um, we're going to grow. We're going to
Yeah.
evolve. We're going to get past this, and um, I'm excited to see what's coming. I don't know what it's going to be, all of it, but
Yeah. Well, and I think, one of the things moving forward for this platform is, we want to hear from those of you who have kids who are playing these UTR events. Whether you're the coach or the parent, we want to hear what the experience is looking like and feeling like for you. Is there some added anxiety involved in going back out on the competition court, or is this just the next step in the progression? If you are playing, if your child's playing, if your club is offering these UTR events or other types of competitive match play, get in touch with Dewey or me. You can comment on the YouTube stream or Facebook or wherever you're watching this, or you can
yeah.
always email us or tweet at us or however you contact us. We're
However, we're
available.
both pretty easily available. That we're
Yeah,
social media mavens or
everywhere.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But we want to hear from y'all and hear what the experience is like for you as the parent, you as the player, and you as the coach. How does it feel now that things are starting to open? And what are you seeing? And what tweaks are needing to happen along the way? Because that'll help us share information with everybody and hopefully bring tennis back in a way that feels good for everybody.
20 minutes flies by each and every week, Lisa. There's
Yeah, I
a
know.
lot to talk about and brain swirling, and um, but it's good to be back at a place where we're giving advice to people and not just kind of asking everybody to be safe.
Yeah.
Though I think we both want people to continue to be
Oh,
safe
yeah.
because we're not out of the woods, but we're back doing the thing that we care about deeply. Tennis is back being a part of people's lives in the real bricks and mortar world, not just the virtual world. And I'm excited about it.
Me too. Me too. Take care of yourself, Mr. Dewey. I don't want to see any more hospital trips on your Facebook feed. Yeah.
We'll be back next week with tennis takeaways with Lisa and Dewey. Have a wonderful week.